Other questions? Yes, go ahead. Please stand.
I'm Alice Mullen, Executive Director of the Committee 100. I'm delighted to be hosting this program. But I have two questions I want to take the opportunity to ask. Ambassador Roy, you had mentioned earlier the next year being an election year, very important for the United States. Can you comment on kind of will China card be played by both parties? Kind of Clinton, President Clinton had played when he was running for president. I mean, is that something that we will be seeing next year? The demonization of being close to China. Part two, also, I wanted to ask you about the Olympics. 2008 is also a very important year for China in the Olympics. Can you comment on how that will be used? Will it be politicized? In the past, I think we've seen, although the Olympic is not a political event, it has been politicized in the past. So can you kind of talk about 2008?
Thanks, Alice. Let me make two comments on that. We seem to have a pattern in the United States where candidates say things about China during the campaign and then eat their words if they win the election. And it seems to me to have that happen once or twice maybe is understandable. To have it happen every election suggests that candidates are either not serious in understanding foreign policy issues, or they have selected advisors who don't know the subject. I would like to see during our election next year candidates who talk about China in ways that will be seen, if they are elected, as the right way to advance U.S. national interests. And as I made clear in my opening comments, I think it's very clear that we need cooperation with China to advance very important U.S. interests, which doesn't mean you can't criticize China in other areas. On the Olympics, I think it's very important to understand the Olympics is not being staged by the Chinese government for the benefit of the Chinese government. If you visit China, you will find that the Olympics for the Chinese people is a very important event. It's not a question of an oppressed people who will be forced to go and attend the Olympic events. This is an event in which the Chinese people take pride and they look forward to a successful Olympics. I think it would be enormously bad for the United States and bad for our relationship with China if we let our view of the Olympics be affected in such a way that we are seen by the Chinese people as being hostile to an event which is important to Chinese sense of national pride in emerging as a significant country in the international sphere. Does that mean we should whitewash everything? Of course not. But I have seen some evidence that some Americans want to go after China on the Olympics issue, and if that were to become a broad trend in this country, it will be very negative from the standpoint of U.S. interests.
I want to reconfirm what Ambassador Roy has just said. I think I personally believe that China is spending way too much money on the Olympics. I think they ought to spend it somewhere else. But this much said, the Chinese people really want to have a good game, and that's why going after China over the Olympics is not good politics. But I think there will be an issue between China and the U.S. over the Olympics. Is that who won the most medals? Because it's likely that China will end up winning most of the gold medals, the biggest number of gold medals, and the U.S. will end up winning the largest number of medals. And then you will see a squabble between them as to who is really number one in the sporting world. Demonization of China. I make two observations. First of all, in the past, we really do not know how many extra votes demonized China actually got the winning the candidates elected. It's simply, my suspicion is a very small number. Probably he would have gotten them anyway. Second, the issue looming on the horizon is really the trade issue. It's not security. People on the security front are worried about Iraq, Iran. not about China's military expansion or modernization, but the trade issue actually has some traction.
Let me offer a parenthetical comment on the demonization of China in the election years. We have an opportunity in the upcoming election cycle where we really don't have an incumbent administration that is seeking to maintain its presence in the White House. We do have a party, obviously, that has the White House currently. Obviously, they would like to keep it, but we don't have what is considered to be a successor candidate within the current administration. So I think that does present a fresh opportunity, Ambassador Roy, for both parties to take a mature approach. I do regret that there might be some posturing during the primary cycle, and that always happens because you always try to appeal to your base. But by the time the general election rolls around and we know who the candidates are after the primaries, hopefully we will see that the American political system will, at least the participants will hopefully take a more mature and forward-leaning stance. Next question. Yes, Ming, go ahead.
I'm Minxin. I'm a trustee of Committee 100. I have a question that's probably directed to both gentlemen and perhaps to Minxin in particular. I know this is a very difficult year for China because of their own concern about their election. In the past, in many of my conversations with Chinese government officials, generally speaking, making very generous, their attitude was the Congress administration is sort of run by neocons and they are not for China, and there's not too much we can do, and that may be true. In many areas they say they tried, but they just run into a block. What I'm saying right now, not only that we will have new elections, but we already have a new Congress control. I just wonder if the Chinese, on the Chinese side, are they aware of this? Yes, they're aware of the change in the party control of Congress, but are they aware of the fact that maybe the so-called neocons are not in power, but we still have members of Congress who are protectionists, if you want to use that expression, concerned about human rights and renminbi and all that. Are they aware of it? Do they have time to address it? Because we are asking our side to be aware of what they're doing, and I think they should be really aware of what's happening there.
I would say that they are very well informed about changes in American political scene. So the most serious people in China understand that the moment of the newcomers is gone. And today, very pragmatic people are in charge, at least of the China policy. So they're not very, compared with 2001, when the relationship, before 9/11, when the relationship was really quite fragile. Today the relationship is on much more solid ground. This much said, I think on the trade front, I sense a lot of uncertainty in Beijing because they really do not know how to read, because it's a fast-moving story, has many moving parts in it. They cannot get a good grip. I think the Schumer-Graham bill amendment that was put off the shelf, that was abandoned, gave them a shock. But right now they are just watching. Whether they're going to take any action, I really can't tell.